Welcome back, wonderful people. You've entered into iLit lesson D2.32. Today we will focus on context and academic vocabulary, apply making connections to a text, and then apply what you have learned through your homework. Let's get started. Do you know what devoted means? Think about how you might use the word. Devoted. Mr. Smith's devoted daughter stayed by his side while he recovered from his illness. Synonyms for devoted: loving, fond, caring, loyal, faithful. The word devoted comes from the Latin word that means to make a vow. When you make a vow, you promise that you will do something or be faithful to someone. This makes sense to me. When you are devoted to someone, it is as if you make a promise to stand by him or her. You can be devoted to a group or a cause, not just necessarily a person. For example, some people are devoted to their favorite sports team. They go to every game and cheer like crazy. Some people are devoted to the cause of protecting animals. They might volunteer at shelters and raise money to help support animals. Let's check your understanding. Jacob is devoted to his grandmother. He visits her every day. Which word below is an antonym of devoted? Uncaring, loving, nearby. If you said that uncaring is an antonym of devoted, you would be correct. Now think of the word fetching. Do you know what it means? Fetching. Hugo's favorite activity is fetching the stick after his owner throws it. Other verb forms of fetching: fetch, fetches, fetched. Now, this is a word that can actually have multiple meanings. Fetching is a form of the verb to fetch. You may sometimes hear it or see forms of to fetch used with different meanings from the one you have just heard. For example, a newscaster might report that a famous piece of art fetched a high price at an auction. That means someone bought the piece of art for a lot of money. The art did not go out and bring back the money, but it did cause the money to come to its owner. I can see how the meanings are related. In pioneer times, fetching water from the well was an everyday chore. What do you think fetching means? If you said bringing, you are correct. Well done. Let's practice some academic vocabulary. Assisting. Give aid to, help. She was assisting the science teacher with the lesson. Concerned. Worried, anxious. His parents are quite concerned about his poor health. Created. Make a thing which has not been made before. The noise created a disturbance. Practice. Action done many times over for skill. They were out of practice at batting. At the end of today's lesson, you will have an opportunity to go onto Quizlet and practice these vocabulary words. I'm excited to see how you do. As we start our Read Aloud, Think Aloud section today, I want you to remember that this unit's essential question is, where do I fit in? So I want you to think about when we look back at Trino and then Jeremy, who we just read about last week, how do they feel about not belonging? And I've definitely seen that it hurts them in a lot of different ways to feel like they don't belong. What makes Trino feel like he starts to belong? Well, his new friends and his coach, Trevino, they all kind of help him feel like he belongs more. Jeremy, we didn't really see anything from him yet about if he feels like he belongs. So today we're going to continue making those connections and see what we come up with this new article, Autistic Teens Hoop Dreams Come True, which is written by Steve Hartman from CBS News. Now you'll notice on the left that it says that this is a transcript. and a transcript is a written or printed version of material presented in another medium, usually in audio or video. Let's start with brainstorming. I would like you to brainstorm in your own head, what does it mean to be part of a team? What are the responsibilities and benefits of being on a team? Let's find out what happens in this story. Steve Hartman, news anchor. Greece Athena High School in Rochester, New York, has a new, most unlikely hero, a special ed student by the name of Jason McEwen. Jason is the basketball team manager. For the past couple of years, he's been assisting Coach Jim Johnson, helping with whatever the team needs. Jason McEwen. I get them motivated and I hand out water and just be enthusiastic. S.H. Enthusiastic to say the least. Despite being born with autism, Jason's father says his son has never had a problem expressing himself at basketball games. Jason's father. You know, I was always concerned that he might get a technical and they'd lose a game because he'd, start yelling or whatever. J.M. Let's have a hard practice tomorrow, all hour and a half, and let's get ready for Arcadia. Let's go. S.H. Because he has been so devoted to the team, for the last game of the season, Coach Johnson decided to let Jason actually suit up. Not to play necessarily, just to let him feel what it's like to wear a jersey. At least, that was the plan. But with 4 minutes to go in last week's game, Coach Johnson stood up and pointed at number 52, Jason McEwen. After years of fetching water and toweling off other people's sweat, Jason was actually in a game. His first shot was a 20-footer from the right baseline. To Jason, was it close? Did you almost make it? I missed. I just airballed it. I'm going to pause here and make some quick observations. First, I noticed that we have got different people speaking throughout this story. And we know this because of all of the different labels. I also see that they have managed to abbreviate some of them. So when we see SH, we know that that stands for Steve Hartman. And then Jason McEwen is then abbreviated JM. And Steve Hartman keeps showing up as SH. I also see that there are some sidebars with additional pieces of information. For example, autism is a disorder that affects a person's ability to communicate and interact with others. I also see in basketball a technical is a foul that does not involve physical contact between players, or a foul made by a non-player. Let's keep reading. I'm interested to see what happens. Coach Johnson. I'm like, dear God, please, let's just get him a basket. S.H. His second shot missed too, but the third was a charm. A three-pointer, no doubt. And Jason wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. C.J. If I wasn't there to witness it, I wouldn't have believed it, S.H. to Jason. You caught fire. J.M. I just caught fire. I was hot as a pistol. S.H. Jason ended up shooting 6 three-pointers, one right after the other. He had 20 points total, and each time a shot went in, his teammates and the crowd went a little crazier. His last basket, right at the buzzer, created total mayhem. Because he is autistic, Jason says he's used to feeling different, but never this different, never this wonderful. As I finish reading, I'm noticing that what Coach Johnson said showed some emotion, where he says, I'm like, dear God, please just let him get a basket. It makes me really think he's nervous for Jason and that he really wants Jason to do well. Another thing that I'm picking up on is the phrase, you caught fire. Well, we know he didn't literally catch fire, so I'm going to guess that this is some type of figurative language. meaning that he's starting to make all of his shots and that he's gotten really lucky. Let's go back to the beginning of the article and make some more observations. There are a couple of more things that I'm noticing now that we've read the article completely and we go back to the beginning. We see hoop dreams right here. And that makes me think about this phrase when talking about basketball and how sometimes people have dreams of playing in the NBA and they might actually talk about having hoop dreams. Now I'm starting to make this association more with Jason McEwen and how he didn't want to just be the team manager. I'm also going to look at the term news anchor. And I know that anchor can have lots of different meanings. In this case, it's talking about a person who reports. What could it be in something else? Well, I think about an anchor when it comes to boating. So it's really important to know that words can have multiple meanings. And in this case, it's not a news anchor as in an anchor on a boat weighing stuff down, but someone who's reporting about something. I'm also noticing that the first part of the article was all about giving us background information about who Jason was and what he does. And then when we get to this part of the article here, we're actually getting into the story. This is a good way for us to know that nonfiction writing can also have background to it so that we understand the story better. Finally, I'm thinking about making those connections to the text. And I'm noticing that Jason ended up shooting 6 3-pointers, one right after the other, for a total of 20 points. Now, that's pretty amazing. 6 3-point shots, one right after the other. I have not seen many people do that. Have you ever seen someone do that in a game? Have you yourself been able to do that before when practicing or in a game situation? Let's discuss this today during our classroom conversation. Thanks for joining me today for this flipped lesson. Hopefully you were able to focus on the context and academic vocabulary, make connections to the text, and now we're on to applying what you need to learn. Your assignments in iLit are the grammar study plan, along with the phonics consonant digraphs. Make sure you've logged into our Quizlet class so you can practice the D2.32 practice and the review. I want you to get credit for those, so make sure you've logged in. And finally, our class conversation. I really hope you've done all this lesson so that when we Google Meet today, you will be able to discuss in full. I look forward to seeing you soon.